You're building your personal brand, which means you need some great photos of yourself as part of your personal brand that you're building. As a brand strategist, I've overseen hundreds of these types of projects. So in this video, I'm going to give you some of my best tips that I have learned over the years. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm Phil. I talk a lot about branding, personal branding, social media strategy, and practical advice to look good online. If these topics interest you, I'd love to have you around here a little more often. Maybe even consider subscribing or hitting the bell to be notified when I post next. So we've gotten that out of the way. Now it's time to talk about tips for your personal brand photography. Here we go. In Cabo, and the question comes from Emily, who asks, Phil, I've got a personal brand photo shoot coming up next week, and I wondered if you had any tips for me to prepare beforehand. I really appreciate it. Emily, I am full of tips on this topic, and I appreciate you reaching out to get some of those insights. And we want you feeling prepared for your photo shoot for that big day. So you're gonna be snapping some of those photos with confidence, I hope, by watching this video. We wanna make sure you get some serious mileage from the photos you take, because this is how people discover you online. And ideally, they're feeling enticed to get a little piece of you. Listen to your podcast, read your blog, follow you on Instagram, buy your product, or even hire you for your services. So I have a separate video all about how to create a profitable personal brand, and I might recommend also checking out this video, which has some tips on how to measure your brand success as well. I'll link to that somewhere around here. Now, let me begin with my first tip for getting awesome personal brand photography. Tip number 1, create a shot list. Shot lists are critical for planning the steps for your photo shoot and really any photography process. Now keep in mind, you're probably spending money to get the photos that you're getting taken, and you want to make sure you're capturing every element of your personal brand while you've got this time with the photographer. It's an investment, and you want to be smart about this. I get excited whenever a client is hiring a photographer to capture, right, their personality for their personal branding project, but I also, when they go blindly into a photo shoot without a proper shot list, I get a bit panicked. No one wants that, including me. I like to think of a shot list as a way to capture your essence for the photographer, right? The photographer's job is to make you look like you. It's your job to give them the stage so that you can shine. Now, unless you have a history with a photographer, it's likely that they don't know that much about you. So a shot list is a great way to get them up to speed on every action and location that speaks to you. We'll talk more about actions and locations in a second. Luckily for you, I have prepared a free shot list template, which you can download right now in the link in the description below. This template includes an example as well as an empty, fillable version that you can add your own text to. This shot list template will help you with the who, the what, the when, and the where. Specifically, I'm talking about who will be at the shoot, when the shoot will be happening, date and time, what the rough itinerary of the day looks like, the shoot location, as well as the address for that shoot is important to know, the equipment needed, any props required, as well as a rundown of what shots you're hoping to get. I often think of this list in terms of what you need for your website project. So for example, maybe you've got around 5 pages on your website, home, about, projects, blog, and contact, plus anything you might need for social media. You're going to want to make sure you get coverage for all of those pages, and this template will help you. Again, it's free. I've linked to it below in the description for you. A shot list is crucial, and it will make your life a lot easier. You'll feel more prepared, and it will help you communicate with your photographer, which is so important. Moving on to the next tip. Tip number 2, choose a great location. Now, I mentioned location a minute ago. This is hugely important for capturing the vibe of your brand and your personality. I recommend brainstorming at least 2 different locations that are close to each other. Also ask your photographer to scout if you're not able to scope out the locations yourself. Normally they'll have an opinion and they'll be happy to be part of the process. The advantage of having variety in your location, it will give your audience more of a well-rounded view of your personal brand. It also gives you more to work with on social media and on your website. When I'm shooting and I'm feeling torn on locations, sometimes I'll take the same type of shot over a few different backgrounds. This way you have more choices when it's time to pick the photos that best represent your brand. By the way, I have examples of this on my own Instagram profile, which you can check out. I'm often posting photos that look and feel on brand, but still different enough that it's unique enough to post as its own post. No one is really keeping track, so I recommend switching up the types of posts and the locations so it's always feeling fresh. Tip number 3, you don't always have to have your face in every single photo. That's right. It's easy to think that this is all about you, that you need to be in every photo, but it's your photo shoot. I get it. You've put work into your hair and your makeup and choosing your outfit, maybe even going on a detox, I don't know. Whatever it is, it feels like it would make sense to be in every shot, right? Well, that is not exactly how it works. When you get a photo shoot for a personal brand, you are ultimately creating a set of photos that should work well together on the web. A telltale sign of an amateur website is when a person's face is everywhere. It's hard to describe, but as a user on that website, it starts to feel uncomfortable, kind of thinking like, why is this person always staring at me? And their face becomes less visually rewarding because it's literally everywhere. Your photos aren't just about you. This is about your brand, and web designers really need to be able to tell a story to create an atmosphere and have a variety of images to choose from. That really helps, especially when some of those options exclude your face. Now, here are some examples of my own client projects. Starting with Simon T. Bailey. Simon has a super dynamic personality. He is amazing. He is someone who speaks at over 100 events every year, and he's used to being in the spotlight. However, when branding Simon, it was important to us to convey the thoughtfulness that Simon brings to every speaking event. Essentially, what we wanted to do was zero in on his work behind the scenes and create a mood that's inspiring. So that's why we chose this image. You don't see Simon, but you see his hands. You see one of Simon's favorite notebooks where he's crafted his crowd-pleasing speeches on airplanes and in between meetings. While you don't see Simon's face, you do see his craft, and that is powerful stuff that conveys an extra degree of preparedness that just a smiling face won't show. That's why Simon's personal brand ended up being one of our favorites. I'll be sure to link to his project below as well on my website. As well, I've got a blog post with this example and a few others that go into more detail on what I call the most important photo that you're forgetting in your shoot. That is linked below in the description below as well to check out. I want to move on to my next tip. Tip number 4, incorporate actions. This is one of the most important and critical tips that I have, so make sure you're listening. I think of your shots in terms of actions, not poses. There's a big difference between a pose and an action. Thinking differently about these allows you to think more creatively about the moods that you want to capture. It also ensures that you're comfortable during your photo shoot since you are doing actions that come naturally to you. So again, here are a few examples of things that you can try, and I'm actually going to give you examples of my clients. To start, writing. As we see in this example, we saw it with Simon, and here you see it with my client, Dinesh. Thinking, as in with this example with my client, Janet, who's flipping through travel magazines. Walking, as shown in this example of my client, Ashley, who's walking down the court steps. Jumping, as in this example of me many years ago. This was one of my first branded photos. Laughing, as you can see here in this example with my client, Ramon. Or singing, as you can kind of see in this example with Jillian. Maybe she's not singing, but the same energy is there, and I totally love this picture. So, to sum it up, choose actions that reflect who you are and maybe how you might work with a client or what they could expect from you. If you're naturally restrained, then a jumping shot might not be the best for you, but if you're high energy, then capturing a photo of you laughing that could be great. One of my favorite client photo shoots was of a client of mine named Javier Baher, who is a cultural architect and works and shapes the cultures of many famous organizations. This will be my last example. For his shoot, we had him photographed at a tube station in London where he lives, simply observing the people around him. Now, not everyone can get away with people watching, but Javier absolutely could. Observing and shaping culture is one of the integral parts of his work. So hopefully this example and the many others give you some ideas on how to implement actions in your photo shoot. Let's move on to my final tip. Tip number 5, have fun. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. For this to work, ideally you are at ease. Ideally you choose a good photographer and they will know how to guide you and they'll learn about you in the process, and hopefully it's kind of fun. A photo shoot should be fun. If you're having fun, then that energy is going to come through in the final product, which is exactly what we're going to want for your website and every other use. I get it, not everyone loves having their photo taken, but again, choosing a photographer who you can trust, who's good, someone who's proven through a strong portfolio that they can deliver for you what they've done for others in the past. This is important so that you feel equipped and ready to make the right investment and know that this shoot is going to be a huge success. So that's enough from me. Now I want to hear from you. What are your plans for your upcoming photo shoot? What are you hoping to capture? What actions or locations are you going to keep in mind? Any tips that I've mentioned that you're excited to try out? Let me know in the comments below. I keep an eye on these and respond to these personally so we can keep the conversation going on down there. And if you found this video useful, I would so totally appreciate a like, and for you to also consider subscribing for more videos like this on my YouTube channel. As well, I've got some more videos that I'm going to put up next that are going to help you build your brand. I'm Phil Pallen. I appreciate you hanging out with me today, and those videos I mentioned, those are coming up next.